She had been forced to give up her first two children because she'd abused them. But in 2001, she was convicted of killing her third child, 3-month-old Noah.
How often do you reflect on the chain of circumstances which actually got you here?
Sometimes it just sneaks up on you like that, and you don't even realize it, and you're happy, and then you realize that you're sad, you know, and it's something that maybe it's a song that played or something that somebody said, or last weekend was Mother's Day and somebody wished me a happy Mother's Day, and it was not good. It just brings all of that back.
Your son was only 3 months old. The realization that you took the life of someone to whom you gave birth must be probably the most horrendous thing of all.
Absolutely. You know, I can still remember when I found out I was pregnant. You know, I was 6 weeks pregnant, and they did this ultrasound, and there was this little life, and, you know, they told me he was like 1.5 inches long. And at that moment, you could see his heartbeat, and I promised at that moment to keep him safe forever. And I didn't. And that makes me feel like a monster. And it makes me feel like I don't even deserve to be alive some days.
As an educated person, you must go through a lot of self-analysis. You must look back and try to analyze your actions.
I honestly don't even have an answer for you. I don't know. I struggled with postpartum depression after the birth of my son. I was seeing a psychologist regularly. I was actually in his office the day that I took the life of my son. It was a normal everyday day. I had been to the craft store to buy a Christmas stocking for him. It was right before Halloween, and I sat, you know, working on the little felt pieces for this stocking for him for his first Christmas, and, you know, it was just him and I that day, and I don't know. He was fussy because he was had a cold, and I don't know. I lost my temper, and I should have been better than that.
Was that a moment of blind rage?
In a moment, life changed. You know, I was sitting on the couch, feeding him, giving him a bottle, and talking to my mom on the phone, watching The Simpsons. And 15 minutes later, I was on the phone to the paramedics, getting instructions on doing CPR because he wasn't breathing.
Wow. Gosh, that's a terrible moment.
Life happens in a moment, you know, and you take life for granted. You never realize what moment it's going to be that your life is going to change forever.
What did you do when you discovered your son wasn't breathing?
I called the paramedic. I called 911, talked to the paramedics, began performing CPR until police officer came in and took over CPR. Then the paramedics got there. We all went in an ambulance to the hospital. They called in saying that they had a child coming in with unresponsive. So they had a chaplain there waiting to talk to me when I got there. And they were able to get his heart beating again, but due to the brain damage, he was not breathing on his own. So
he suffered brain damage?
Yes. He died from shaken baby syndrome.
How quickly did they blame you for your son's death?
But they didn't blame me. I was honest with them. I told them exactly what happened as much as I could remember, because at that point, all I wanted to do was save his life as possible, and it didn't matter what happened to me.
Going through that long process of being in police custody, that must have been pretty traumatic, knowing what had happened.
There were death threats made against me, and
why people thought you were a child killer. A
Yes.
mother who kills her child is probably held up as one of the most
Yes, the
horrific
most
people.
contemptuous in our society. I mean, the most contemptuous would be a sex offender, you know, somebody that's a pedophile. Other than that, you're baby killers.
So you were classed as a baby killer.
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.